Hello everyone, welcome to the class. This is David A. Cox with PCClassesOnline.com presents our new to iTunes 11 class. We are live. We have a very full class today, and a lot of you have asked to submit your questions, and I've already kind of got them here ready to cover them in the class, so I'm going to ask you to kind of hold off until the very end, and at that point, if there's anything that I haven't answered, we'll be, of course, able to address them all. So, welcome everyone. The first thing I want to do right off the bat, and some of you may be looking at my screen right now and saying, wait a minute, your screen doesn't look like what my screen looks like for version 11. And a lot of people, when the new version came out, noticed that this sidebar here was gone. Okay, well, that was actually the number one question that all of you submitted, is how do we get that bar back? So I'm going to show you that right off the bat, because just by adding that back into the equation, people who don't like iTunes 11 suddenly love it. So here's how you do it. Up here under View, you're going to go and you're going to see just down here, it says, right now it says Hide Sidebar because of the fact that I have it open right now. But this is it right here. You just have to go into View, and this will say Show Sidebar. And that will add back this over here on the left-hand side. That alone is going to make everything so much easier instead of having to go back and forth between tabs, which is for whatever stupid reason the way they wanted it to work. And even I agree on that one. So that's the number one question that all of you had that I wanted to answer for you. So basically iTunes is kind of a portal towards everything music, movies, television shows, podcasts, you name it. It's also the way that you synchronize data between your computer and something like an iPhone, an iPod, or an iPad. So we're going to be covering a lot of different things today, mostly about organizing, how to create a playlist, how to burn that playlist to disk, how to play your music wirelessly on your home stereo, even if your home stereo doesn't have Wi-Fi in it, using a Genius playlist, going over some of the settings, and also how to get rid of those pesky duplicates. So I have a big list here of items. It's not in really any particular order, so we're going to just kind of go through everything here and hopefully get, like I said, all of your questions answered. So the first thing I want to talk about a little bit is organizing. So you can see here I have a bunch of songs in here. These are just some songs I pulled out of my account on this computer. This is my work account right now. And I want to show you how to organize these things. So at the very top, you'll see here that we have these different columns. Okay, so we have name, time, artist, album. When you click on any of these columns, it will organize it alphabetically, or in the case of time, numerically. So a lot of people, when they first get iTunes, they see these songs are all kind of all over the place. You know, there's no consistency here. Most people organize their songs by artist. Now, if you notice that right now you'll see I've got Britney Spears down here at the very bottom. You say, well, I want it to be at the top. If you click it again, it will reverse order. So if you click it once, it goes Z to A. Click it again, A to Z, and back and forth. So that's a little trick right there. You'll also probably notice on your account that you may have a bunch of categories here that you don't frankly care about, like rating, plays. There's a whole bunch of different ones that you can have, so I want to show you how to configure that. Now, I'm showing you this right now on my Mac, but basically this is the exact same on a PC. So for all of you who are on a PC, there's really only one small part in this whole class that's different, and I'll be sure to mention it when we get there. So Mac users, you're going to secondary click right in this gray space up here, or if you have a right click enabled, you can do that. PC users, you're going to right click. And when you do, you're going to get a series of additional options right here. And you'll see here that everything that appears has a check mark next to it. So for example, if I don't care about rating, I can just simply uncheck that. I'm going to give you one category that I do recommend adding just to make life a little bit easier. Once again, right click. And I would add date added. And the reason why is if you've just imported a ton of music and you just want to find that one song that you just put in, you can just as easily click on date added and boom, have everything right there. Go back to artist. Let's see here. You can also change the width of these columns. So for example, the column here for time is a little bit larger than it actually needs to be. So if I want to make it a little slimmer, all you have to do is put your cursor kind of on that little vertical line between the two columns, and you'll see that my cursor turns into this icon that looks like two arrows pointing in opposite directions. So you're just going to click and drag it in so you can kind of make it a little bit more compact. And likewise, if I want to make the album column here a little bit bigger, I can just drag it out. Okay, so I can see the whole thing. If you would like to move these around, you're more than welcome to. Let's say you want artist to be over here on the left-hand side. You just click here in the middle and just drag and drop it. You can see it's kind of giving me an idea of where it's going to go. And now the artist is over here on the left-hand side, followed by the track name, followed by the time, followed by the album, etc. Let's see. Moving files between computers. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about is a question that we got in a few before we actually started here, and I get in a lot with my clients, which is how do I move songs back and forth between computers? It's actually very easy. You don't need a hard drive, you don't need a flash drive, you don't need to burn a CD to do it. It's actually very simple. All you need is a wireless network. So the way you do it, and this way is going to be almost identical on a PC, is here under File, you're going to see that one of the options here is something called Home Sharing. And basically the idea with home sharing is when you turn it on, all you have to do is type in your Apple ID. So this would be the username and password that you see whenever you buy music or movies or whatever it is you would on an iPhone, an iPad, or on your computer. So once you put in that information, you will then see over here on the left-hand side it says home sharing right now. I'm not going to do it this second. But underneath it you would see your other computer on the same wireless network, and you can just simply drag and drop songs between computers. It's a really easy way to do it. Next, I want to talk a little bit about importing songs into iTunes. Now, if you're moving from computer to computer, there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. If you actually have a folder of music, of songs, you can actually just drag and drop that folder into the little iTunes icon, and it will import it. The only exception to the rule that you should know is, let's say I purchase a album of music. Let's say I download the latest Lady Gaga album, and I then take that folder, okay, of files, and I put it on, let's say, a flash drive, and I go to my friend's house and I try to put it into his computer. It will not allow me. Anytime you buy content through iTunes, you are actually purchasing a license to use it. Now, there is a way around it, and technically the way you can get around that license is if you burn it to a CD. So if I take an album that I bought through iTunes, let's use Lady Gaga as the example, I burn it to a CD, someone else's computer cannot tell where that music came from. So I could just put it in their computer and download it. Is it legal? Hell no. But could I do it? Hell yes. So there you go. I'm not the moral police, as many of you have figured out by now. What else in regards to that? I also want to talk a little bit about the settings. Now, this is where it's going to be just a little bit different. PC users, if my memory serves me right, under View at the very bottom, you have a thing for, it's either Options or Preferences. I can't quite remember. Mac users, you're going to go to iTunes and go to Preferences. And at this part, this is the part that I was talking about, is slightly different. And what I want you to do is go here under the General tab and look down here at the very bottom. Now, if you are brand new to iTunes and you have a ton of CDs that you would like to bring into your computer, allow me to give you a very fast way to do it. You can tweak this little setting right down here that says when a CD is inserted, you can immediately say import the CD and eject it. So that way you just go boom, 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 boom. You put in a CD, it spits it out, you put in another one, and it's just copying all of this data into iTunes. Now, the other thing you want to check out is the import settings. So go in here. Now, different people have different opinions on this. Part of this has to do with how big do you want the files to be. Now, obviously, the larger the file size of each song, the clearer it's going to be. So if you have something like a Bose sound system, like we've got here, you want that good, amazing sound quality. So if you're really going for that amazing sound quality, what I would recommend is actually this Apple lossless encoder. Okay? The other option, if you want to go the opposite end of the spectrum, if you want it to be a really small file size, maybe you have like an iPhone that doesn't have a lot of storage on it, and you want those file sizes to be pretty minimal, change it to MP3. Now, if you do MP3, you can choose down here the different bit rates. Okay? So, as you can see here, there's good, high, and higher. Definitely recommend the higher. If you're really kind of low on space, you might want to do 160. 128 just doesn't sound that great. So I would do the 192. Okay? That's it for the import settings. Next, we're gonna come back to the preferences here in a little bit. But the next thing we're going to talk about is a brand new feature in the latest version, which is called iTunes Radio. Now, this is great if you don't have any music, if you don't feel like paying for a ton of it, but you just want to have some background music. So what you're going to do is up here at the very top, you're going to see these different tabs, and the final one on the right is Radio, and you can click here to start listening if this is the first time you've ever done it. So the way this works is basically, for those of you who are familiar with the application Pandora, basically Apple completely ripped them off, not even being subtle about it. So what you do with this is you can create a radio station based on what kind of music you like. So you can click down here where it says Add Station, and you can see there's a little config down here for adding explicit songs. So click Add Station, and you can at this point type in either a genre, you can type in an artist name, a song, really whatever you want, and you'll be able to create a radio station based on that. So let's go with the example that I've always given. I am a massive Maroon 5 fan. So you can see here I can click on this right here. They'll also give me a couple options here for specific songs that I can base it on. And just like that, my computer's going to start to play music. And it's my favorite song. So the idea that what they're trying to do here is they're exposing you to new music based on what music you already know. The other thing you can do is, let's say it's playing a song and I really love it. Up here you can see there's a little $1.29 symbol. If I click on that, I can purchase this song through iTunes, and it'll go straight into my computer. And I can give it a little bit more information here. I can say play more songs like this, add an artist or song, whatever. And if you like, right down here, there's this interesting little slide bar here, and I actually wish Pandora did this too. You can kind of fine-tune it to just the popular songs that are similar to this one, variety, or discovery mode, where you can kind of really go into everything. Typically, I actually kind of like to keep it in discovery mode, turn me on to things that I've never heard of before. Okay, now we're going to go, we're going to leave this, we're going to go back here for a minute. And we're going to go into the store. Now, if you do not have this sidebar here, okay, you're going to have a little button at the top right that says iTunes Store. You can see we are logged in right now as me. And the iTunes Store is where you go to get everything. So you can download music, movies, television shows, apps, books, podcasts. You can even take a few selected courses through different universities. So the idea with all of this is you have to have something called an Apple ID. And if you, the first time you try to buy a song, if you have never purchased one, it's going to have you create one. Basically, all an Apple ID is it's your email address and a password. And when you type in that password, the account is linked to your credit card, and you're auto-billed, and you get the song. And you can kind of scroll through here, and you can check out, of course, the hits down on the bottom right. You can check out featured movies that have recently come out, featured television shows. They usually have kind of a free song of the week you can check out. I've never found them to be that good, but you can always check those out. Under movies here. Now, movies, here's what I love about the movies portion of iTunes, is you have the option with most movies to either buy or rent. And this is perfect for if you're going on a plane ride, okay? You don't have Wi-Fi probably in your airplane, and if you do, they're going to charge you an arm and a leg. So the idea with this is you can rent a movie, it'll download into your iPad presumably, and you can watch it, and when it's done, it's going to auto-delete. Which brings me to an important point. A lot of people have questions about how the actual renting process works. So here's how it works. When you go into a movie, let's go into The Heat here as an example. I'm not sure if this one's actually available to rent. It is not. Bad example. Okay. Let's see if they have a top. Monsters University. Oh, God, of course I'm not having any luck with that. Well, the idea is that when you go to rent a movie, they're usually right around $4 or $5. Sometimes you'll find one on sale for $1. what you do is when you start playing it, you have 24 hours to finish watching it. So it's really important that if you do, let's say you're going to go on a trip in a couple of days. If you're going to download the movie today as a rental, it is very important that you not start watching it until you're on that plane. Because as soon as you do, the timer starts. And there's no stopping it. As soon as 24 hours is up, boom, it's gone. It auto-deletes, it clears itself out. There's nothing you have to do on your part. So that's a little bit about how the rentals work. You can also go here into TV shows. Now, let's say there's a TV show that you're a big fan of. They even have some here that are on premium channels like HBO, for example. So if you don't want to pay for HBO, you can instead buy something called a season pass to the television show. Let me just use The New Girl here as an example. So with a season pass, what it means is that as soon as a new episode comes out, it's going to automatically download. Okay? Now, in this case, they have different prices for a high-def version or a low-def version. In this case, it's a good chunk of money. But anyways, you can choose to check that out or not. Under the App Store, now you can technically download apps for your iPhone or iPad through your computer. Most people do it just through their device, but it's the exact same process. The books that you see here, you can technically read on your computer. More people than anything are going to read on something like an iPad, but it's the same process. You click on it and you pay for it, all through your Apple ID. Podcasts are basically radio, for the most part. They do have some video podcasts. But for those of you who are fans of shows like This American Life, some of the other ones that you'll see on, some of the other radio stations out there. I used to be a fan of Car Talk. So there's some of the other top ones here over on the right-hand side. NPR, that's what I was blanking on. If you're a fan of, for example, Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, you can have it so that your computer automatically downloads the latest show whenever it comes out. And it's very easy to do. Well, the other part that I love about it is it cuts out all the commercials for most of them. So you can check that out too. And all podcasts are free. That's an important thing to go over. Next was the number 2 question that all of you had, which we're going to go back into music here for a moment. And we're going to talk about playlists. Now, the way that you create playlists, if you don't have this sidebar here, is amazingly confusing. So please, for the love of God, add that sidebar back. Again, view, show sidebar. Okay. The way you create a playlist is very simple. Down here at the very bottom left, you'll see that there's a little plus symbol. And when you click on it, you're going to click New Playlist. So you can type in whatever you want to call this playlist. As my example, I always use gym music. Okay. So now what we're going to do, you can see there's nothing in here currently. So what we're going to have to do is go over here to Music, and we're going to drag and drop songs individually into that playlist. So let's say I want to add this Britney Spears song here. I'm going to click, drag, and I'm going to drop it right here where it says Gym Music. And you saw that little green plus symbol, so that means it is now in that playlist. Okay, and you can go through here and you can add a bunch of other ones. There we go. Add some Icona Pop. Now when you're done, you'll see that you have the list over here now. I have them in the order that I drag them. If you want to reorder them, it's not an issue. Just drag them and drop it to kind of the position that you want, and it'll stay there. And if you sync this playlist to your device, whatever it is, iPod or iPhone, that will take as well. And that's a little bit about creating a playlist. The other big question we had is burning a CD of this music. Now, it's important to understand that a CD can only hold so much information. Now, if you're going to be buying blank CDs, the format that I recommend is CD minus R. And the big one that I would stay away from is the disc made by Sony. For whatever reason, I have found that Sony CDs tend to not work with a lot of different devices. And what's weird is they'll work with some, but they won't work with others. If you need a recommendation, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'll give you a link to where you can buy them for next to nothing online. But when you have your playlist, if you want to burn it to a CD, let's say you're going on a road trip and you have a CD player in your car, here's the easy way to burn a playlist. All you're going to do is put your cursor right here on the playlist, and right-click. Now once again, Mac users, if you're on a laptop, you're going to click with 2 fingers, or if you don't get anything from that, you can hold the Control key and click. PC users, just right-click. Second option down, burn playlist to disk, and that's it. It's very, very simple, and it'll have that so you can take it wherever you want to go. And as a reminder, if you did buy this music through iTunes, the information, the fact that you actually did buy it, is no longer available once that is on the CD. So you can, if you want to share it with friends, you can technically do so. You're not supposed to, but you can. One note about that, though, is, and I could be wrong about the number, there is a limit for how many times you can burn a CD, a song, if you purchased it through iTunes. It's either 5 or 10 times. You can do a quick Google search to find out. I meant to before this class, but we're live. Next, we're going to be talking a little bit about AirPlay. AirPlay is a really cool feature, and if you want to be able to have your music and play it wirelessly on your sound system, I'm going to show you a way that you can do that. Let's say you've got a sound system right now, and it doesn't have Wi-Fi built into it. No problem. You can make it wireless. Here's how you do it. You're going to need to buy a little device, and I'm happy to send you a link if you shoot me an email, david@pcclassesonline.com. You're going to need to buy a device called an Airport Express. They're $100, and they're really handy. They're a router, but it also has a mini stereo jack in it. So what you can do is take this device, plug it into your sound system that you already have, and it basically introduces your network, your stereo system to your network. And once something is on your network, now anything connected to your network can play music through it. So the way you do this is I would be playing my song here, and if you look up here at the very top where we have the controls, there's this little symbol right here. This is the universal symbol for AirPlay. It's a box. It's meant to look like a TV with a triangle underneath it. And when you click on that, you'll see this is mine in the other room. I just have it set up to be called David's Airport Express. That is plugged into our sound system here. And as soon as you do that, it'll start to play music wirelessly on your stereo. One tip about that, make sure you have the volume turned down, because when you switch from your computer to your stereo, it's going to adjust the volume. So make sure you have it low. You don't want to blow your speakers. Next, we're going to talk a bit about Genius playlists. Let's say you're having a party, and you have a ton of music. This is obviously, like I said, just a demo account. Let's say you have a ton of music. You don't have time to go through it and pick out this song followed by this song. You just want them all to have that same kind of beat. You want it to flow, okay? Well, let's take the song Applause by Lady Gaga right here. I'm going to show you how to create something called a Genius playlist. And the way you do this is you're going to right-click on it, okay? And you're going to create Genius playlist. Sorry, you can see it right there. And what it's going to do is it's going to analyze all of your music, and it's going to, of course, see, I don't have enough music to do this. Let me do the example I did before we started here. I'm going to do that Britney Spears song and do the same thing. And it's going to go through and it's going to figure out what other music has a similar feel to it, how many beats per minute, and it's going to just, boom, slap together however many songs that you tell it to. Okay, and it's going to put them all here. So if I play these, theoretically, it's going to flow very easily between the different songs. Now we're going to go back to where we were at the very beginning here. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the settings in iTunes, starting with General. Now over here you can see I have unchecked a lot of these different options here, and those kind of correspond to what you see over here on the left-hand side under Library. I don't care about podcasts. I don't listen to any, so I don't choose to show it there. This is just a way to make it a little bit more compact. Some of the different views here you can check out. Notifications, you can tell it to give you kind of a pop-up notification when songs change. Keep all song changes in Notification Center. We've already talked about this import settings here. Let's go down to playback now. If you're having a party, you're going to probably want this feature to be checked, which is crossfade. So it'll, instead of the song just stopping and having silence, you can have it auto crossfade, sort of like your own little mini DJ. This is really handy if you're using that Genius feature that I showed you. Sound Enhancer is just going to kind of make it sound a little bit more crisp. If you download the high quality version, you don't really need it, but you can choose to see how it sounds for you. If you have a preference, you can choose that when videos download, you can have them auto go to the high definition 1080p versus 720. That'd be kind of lower definition. If you have trouble listening, you can use this, trouble hearing rather. You can check this box right here, and when there are closed captions available, it'll automatically activate them. Next we have sharing. Now if you have multiple computers on your wireless network, you can choose to enable this, and anyone else who's in your network can now see your music, which you can password protect or not. Uncheck that. This is your iTunes Store preferences. For those of you who do listen to music on different devices, this right here is really handy. So it says automatic download. So if I have a album that I've pre-ordered and it comes out, I can automatically tell my computer to download it. It'll go to my iPhone, my iPad. Same settings are in those devices. Same goes for books or apps. You can check out some of the different ones here. One little trick I would do is I would limit ad tracking. Okay, it's not so important here as it is on the iPad and the iPhone, but I don't like to be tracked by companies, so you might want to do that. There's parental controls for those of you with young children. If they have their own account, you can say that they can't download content that's, let's say, over the different rating systems here. So say no. If you check PG-13, they won't be able to rent anything that's R. If you have a bunch of different devices and you don't want them to automatically sync with your computer when you plug them in, one trick is to go here under Devices and check right here. So it'll prevent all of those devices from automatically syncing. And finally, we have Advanced here, where you can choose where your iTunes media folder is located. Most of you won't ever need to do this because it's all done automatically for you. But if you want to change the location, you can. Nothing else here that I think we really need to go over in that. I do recommend having this one checked though, which does come checked by default, which is to keep the media folder organized. That just basically means that when you put in those files, it'll automatically add all the information. It'll catalog it for you. Don't really need to do anything beyond that. Oops. Finally, the last question that we got that was that came up from I think one or two of you were people who were complaining about duplicates. And I'm going to show you a really easy way to get rid of duplicates. All you actually have to do is go here under View, and if you look down here it says Show Duplicate Items. And so right there you can see that I have a couple songs here. But what you want to be careful of when you're doing this is look at this first one right here, Burning Bridges. Now I happen to know that one of these versions is an acoustic version and the other is the fully produced version. What you want to be careful of when you're clearing out duplicates is make sure that the time code matches. Because if it doesn't, it usually indicates something like what I just said, where there's maybe one acoustic version and one fully produced version. Here's another one. One version of the song is 1:32, the other is 3:37. Now down here, you see that the song Fun by Some Nights is repeated, same time code and everything. Okay? One other little trick though. When you're going through this, if they are identical, you may want to right-click and add the category for bitrate. So now you can see these songs are not actually identical. One is a bitrate of 256 kilobits per second, and the other is 320. So what that basically means is this song, this bottom one, is clearer. Okay? So in my case, I would delete the lower quality one and just clear that out. Oops, there we go. And I'll say, do you want to move it to trash? Yes. That's about it for my list of items that we were going to go over today. At this point, for those of you who are here live, we're going to kind of go over to you and see what questions. Some of you have been submitting questions this whole time. That's great. Thank you. We'll surely go through all of them. For those of you who have been watching us on YouTube, I hope you will check out our service. We are a completely free service, pcclassesonline.com. Thank you, everyone. Let's get to you, those of you who are here live.